Good morning, Dolphins fans. It's your boy DT again, and on this bright, beautiful Monday morning, I got a few things I want to talk to you about. First of all, I've been, cycling through some jerseys. My first couple episodes, I wore my Ryan Tannehill Color Rush jersey. Last episode, I wore my Devontae Parker jersey. This one, today, I'm taking it back, old school. Ricky Williams. Ignore the fact that it's a little big on me. I had one that fit me at one point, but my my dear father managed to somehow cut it with some scissors. So he ruined that one, and he bought me this one, but it's a little too big. So ignore the size difference. But besides that, I just wanted to bring it out and take it back, because one of my topics today is going to be about our uniforms. So anyway, getting into it, I have a few things that I want to talk about. A couple things I'm actually going to read from some information and some stuff directly from a couple of the articles that I read. I'm going to try and do that occasionally when I'm doing these. So that way I can actually get out some stats, some information, some cold hard facts for you. Okay, so let's see. First topic for today is talking about the highest paid players on the Dolphins roster. Basically, this is from an article by Omar Kelly, from the Sun Sentinel. And he entitled it "Game Changer or Disappointment." So basically he's going through talking about the 10 highest paid players, and whether they're going to be game changers or disappointments. So real quick, I'm going to run through these. He starts off with quarterback Ryan Tannehill. He's going to be making about $17.5 million this year, and this is what he says. Tannehill hasn't been sensational in his 77 starts with a 37-40 record since 2012, but he's gotten better in some aspect of his game each season, and that trend will likely continue in 2018 and his return from the left knee injury that sidelined him the past 20 games. This could be the 29-year-old's last chance to prove that there's more upside than his career 86.5 passer rating indicates, because the Dolphins can clear all of his $18.75 million salary in 19 by making him a June 1st cut. But if Tannehill's respectable this season, he's a bargain at this price. Tannehill will be the 11th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, coming in just behind Denver's Case Keenum and ahead of Pittsburgh's Ben Roethlisberger. Now, just real quick, I'm not going to opine too much on these because I just want to read them and get through them. But just real quick, I want to say, I definitely think that, Tannehill's going to get back to his, 2016 form. He's going to make more progress. He's going to, elevate his game in the team, as I've said before. And he really is. He is a bargain at, this price. 11th highest paid quarterback. That's not, I understand he needs to perform to that level, but I think he will absolutely. So I'm excited about that. All right, his number two, the second highest paid player, is defensive end Robert Quinn, coming in at $11.4 million. Quinn, a two-time Pro Bowl selection, will be the 8th highest paid defensive end in the NFL this season. Last year, Quinn contributed 32 tackles and 8.5 sacks while working as a linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. The hope is that the 27-year-old will regain the form that helped him record 62.5 sacks and force 20 fumbles in 7 seasons with his return to an defensive end role in a 4-3 scheme. If he remains productive, the Dolphins shouldn't have a problem honoring his $9 million salary in 19. All right, number 3 is offensive tackle Juwan James, coming in at $9.3 million. The Dolphins picked up the 5th-year option on James' contract, which makes him the second highest paid right tackle in 2018. He only trails Philadelphia's Lane Johnson, who will make $10.5 million this season. For this price, the Dolphins should be getting more consistent play from their 2014 first-round pick, who has started all 47 of the games he's played. James is an impending free agent, so his performance this season will likely determine if he lands a $40 to $50 million contract with Miami or elsewhere. All right. Next is Rashad Jones, coming in at $9.3 million. Jones, a two-time Pro Bowler, is beginning his 9th season with the Dolphins and 8th as a starter. He's the 3rd highest paid safety in the NFL, behind Kansas City's Eric Berry and the LA Rams' LaMarcus Joyner. The Dolphins restructured Jones' contract this offseason, reworking the 4-year, $48 million deal he signed last offseason to provide the franchise roughly $6.6 million in salary cap relief this year. Jones is guaranteed 11.1 next season, so he should be viewed as a building block. And he definitely is, especially with him and Fitz, and then you throw McDonald in on there too. They're going to be nasty for years to come. Next is defensive end Cam Wake. Wake begins his 10th season with the Dolphins, intent on putting the finishing touches on a career worthy of Ring of Honor recognition and possibly Hall of Fame consideration. At this stage in his career, the 36-year-old is primarily used as a pass rushing specialist, but limiting his snaps hasn't hindered his productivity, considering he produced 22 sacks the past 2 seasons. He hasn't actually been even that limited the past 2 years. Well, he was initially in 16, but then stopped being used sparingly. But anywho, next is defensive end Andre Branch. Branch begins his 2nd and possibly last year of the 3-year, $24 million deal he signed with Miami last offseason. To continue being one of the Dolphins' top earners, securing his $7 million salary in 2019, Branch needs to contribute more than the 23 tackles and 4.5 sacks he recorded in 2017, a season where his productivity was hindered by knee issues. Robert Quinn's addition, William Hayes' return, and Charles Harris's first-round status means that Branch is Miami's most expendable player. So don't be surprised if there's discussion about moving him before the trade deadline. That is a possible. I do like Branch. I think he's got potential. He was a bit hurt last year, but he absolutely does have to do better than 23 tackles and 4.5 sacks. I mean, if he can get up at least to, 8, 7 to 9 sacks, somewhere in there, and, obviously up his tackles a lot, I mean, he could, secure his spot, in the D rotation. Next is K Stills, coming in at $8 million. I don't remember if I said Andre Branch's figure, but he's at $8 million. And so Kenny Stills is also at $8 million. Stills begins year 2 of the 4-year, $32 million contract he signed last offseason with Miami. Considering Stills, who caught 58 passes for 847 yards and 6 touchdowns last season as a team captain, his $8 million salary in 19 and $7 million in 20 can be viewed as a bargain. So it would be hard to envision Stills not finishing out the contract. If he stays healthy, Stills might emerge as the Dolphins' top receiver in 18 because of his chemistry with Ryan Tannehill. Okay, next is Kiko Alonso, linebacker. He comes in at $7.9 million. Alonso concludes the guaranteed portion of the 4-year, $28.91 million contract he signed last offseason, which means he'll need to play well to earn the $6.51 million due in 19. Last season, Alonso registered 115 tackles, 1 sack, and forced 2 fumbles and played in all 16 games for the first time since his rookie season. While Alonso's not a dominant player, Miami has little depth behind him at linebacker. Now, some things real quick about that. Those stats just go to tell you, man, that Alonso's not as bad as a lot of people have been saying he's been. Obviously our defense hasn't been very good as a whole. They've had some flashes, and he was part of those flashes. So I think he's going to be definitely part of, that linebacking unit for a while. And I think he's going to, continue to play at that kind of level, and that's what we need him. We need our linebackers to be having 100+ tackle seasons. We need that. He's not dominant, he's not super dominant, but he's definitely above average. Alright, next one. Offensive guard Josh Sitton, $6.5 million. Sitton, a 4-time Pro Bowl selection, has started 137 of the 147 games he's played the past 10 seasons. The 32-year-old was signed to a 2-year, $13.5 million deal this offseason to help stabilize the interior of Miami's offensive line, which has typically been at the root of this team's troubles, and help Laramie Tunsil develop into a respectable left tackle. If Sitton achieves both, Miami's offense should reach new heights this season. I completely agree, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Josh Sitton, Daniel Kilgore, they're going to be around, you know, probably for the next couple years. I would say, until they get, a left guard and a center. I mean, they'll probably take an offensive lineman early in the draft next year, early, to mid-round a year after that. Probably take a couple of them the next couple years, because they're going to want to develop, some guys to come up behind Kilgore and Sitton, to learn from them, to get that work ethic to feed into the culture and stuff that they bring in, the pedigree, feed off of that. And develop them, to come up behind these guys. So I think they're going to be around for definitely the next couple years. And I think while they're here, they will stabilize that line, and then they'll help bring up the younger offensive linemen. Hopefully they can help, Isaac Asiata. He's supposed to be a mauler, and so if he can get it, and if he can start, taking on, a bigger role there on that left guard spot, who knows? I mean, if Sitton does stay for, this year and next year and stays healthy, then, Asiata could still have just a backup role. But if he can prove to develop enough, then, maybe he can stick around or whatever. Anywho, moving on to the last one. Receiver Danny Amendola coming in at $6 million. Amendola, a 9-year veteran with 426 career receptions and 19 touchdowns, was signed to a 2-year, $12 million deal this offseason to serve as Jarvis Landry's replacement in the slot. Amendola, who has a knack for creating space from defensive backs, must prove that he can stay healthy and remain productive at 32 to earn next year's $6 million salary, which isn't guaranteed. Alright, well that wraps up the 10 players, highest paid players on the Dolphins, and what Omar Kelly thinks, a little bit of what I think. So we'll see how it goes. I have very high hopes for all those players and the team as a whole. So the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit about uniforms. First and foremost, it came out today that the NFL is allowing 3 games this year of being able to wear alternate jerseys. So that includes Color Rush and, old team jerseys. So I would like to see one Color Rush jersey or one Color Rush game, and 2 throwback games. That'd be pretty cool. But who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. Also, too, if you guys haven't heard about it yet, the Dolphins did change their uniforms a bit this year. Not much, just some subtle things. They changed the hue of the blue. It's a little bit less green than it was before last year. So it's a little bit more aqua again, and a little brighter, but just subtly. It's not a whole lot. And then they also, on the numbers, they took out the black stripes, so now it's just an aqua border, or whatever it is, depending on the jersey colors. So there's that. Let's see. That's pretty much it for the uniforms. Not a whole lot. Just wanted to throw that in there real quick. So that's pretty cool. We'll get to wear some old ones 3 times a year. I know, most Dolphins fans, really love the old ones. I do like the old jerseys. People say they should be brought back. I don't think so, only because of the perspective. Like, I love them, and I think the way that they have it right now is great, where you can wear it a couple times a year. That offers an opportunity to be able to buy those jerseys, and but I like the ones that they have now because they are modern. They are contemporary. They do fit more of the here and now. It's good to be able to bring those ones back and play with them, have an opportunity to purchase them and so on. But I like having the modern jersey and stuff. That's just me. Let's see. Next article was talking about the importance of Kenny Stills. to the team and to, you know, that wide receiver room. Obviously, this has a lot to do with, you know, whether Devontae Parker can break out and become the #1 receiver. How reliable is Danny Amendola going to be? Can he stay healthy? Is he going to be productive? You know, is Albert Wilson going to be productive? Is Jakeem Grant going to be productive? Blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, obviously, you know, Case Stills is super important to this team. You know, his contract is reasonable. It's friendly to the team. He's a hard worker. He's like, you know, Adam Gase has said he's the leader of that wide receiver room. He's definitely one of the leaders on the team. And he does a lot of really good things on and off the field. He's huge into community service. You know, he was one of the ones that was protesting the national anthem last year, so it'll be, you know, real interesting to see how he handles it this year. But, you know, it's great. I mean, obviously, you know, you can't understate the importance of, you know, Kenny Stills on this team. All right, let's see. Moving on. The next article comes from ESPN, and it's about 5 players that are going to be crucial if we're going to, you know, hope to make the playoffs this year. Those 5 players, obvious. I mean, the first one couldn't be more obvious. You know, it's Ryan Tannehill, and this is what they had to say. There's little question about which player is #1 on this list. If the Dolphins' disappointing 6-10 finish last season is to be written off as the product of losing Tannehill to a knee injury and not a greater problem, then getting Tannehill back playing at a 2016 level will be of prime importance in 2018. Tannehill will not only have to readjust to playing this season after a major injury, but he must also deal with the loss of top receiver Jarvis Landry, who caught 400 passes for 4,038 yards his past 4 seasons in Miami. Helping Tannehill fill the void will be free agent acquisitions Danny Amendola and Albert Wilson. Real quick, I want to say that, you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, you already know that I think Tannehill is going to, you know, finally play up to an elite level. He's going to, you know, quiet all the doubters. But, you know, honestly, I don't think he's going to end up missing Jarvis Landry all that much. You know, Landry was talking a whole bunch of shit recently about, you know, the team and Tannehill and stuff like that. He said, you know, Tannehill doesn't throw in the offseason with his receivers, which is just a flat lie. You know, he said they didn't have a very good relationship, which, I mean, I never, you know, saw it. But, I mean, obviously I'm not there, you know. But I could see it, though, because Jarvis is a very strong personality, we'll say. And, you know, but, I mean, he was, you know, Tannehill's, you know, go-to guy, his bailout guy. But it sucks because, you know, if you think about it, that's part of the reason why even with Landry and as productive as he was and stuff, we weren't winning. Because, you know, when you have a, you know, smaller, I mean, he's 5'11", I think, you know, a smaller guy, when your slot receiver is like your primary target and, you know, you're basically just feeding him the ball, and especially on third downs. I mean, he's a great slot receiver. He was great on third downs a lot, but, you know, that's a problem. I mean, you need, like, a tight end to be there for you. You need a, you know, big #1 receiver. You need guys that are going to be able to, and, I mean, don't get me wrong, Juice gave it his all. He gave, you know, he put his heart into it and stuff, but I think that we'll actually end up being better off for it, especially with the guys we brought in. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of talk in camp about how, you know, him and Danny Amendola have been fucking clicking. They've been, you know, lots of targets, lots of catches and completions, lots of good stuff coming out of them, you know, from them. So I really think that he is going to, you know, fill that Landry void. And Albert Wilson, too. He hasn't had a whole lot of time with Tannehill, from my understanding, but we'll get more. Him and Jakeem Grant will get more with Tannehill in, you know, training camp. Excuse me. You know, so we'll see. But I really do think that The production is not going to drop off, especially because, Gase wants to spread it around. I think Parker's going to, pick it up this year, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not too worried about that, but obviously a lot does ride on Tannehill. I think he's going to be more than healthy. The dude is not injury prone. He got a very unlucky hit. It just happened to hit in the right spot. Calais Campbell's helmet hit him in the right spot on his knee, and it tore his fucking ACL. I mean, come on. Like, really, could happen to anybody at any time, and it's not fucking his fault, That doesn't make him injury prone. He was a fucking... I don't even know what to call him. He was a brick wall. He's a fucking... The dude was super durable up to that point. So, I think he's going to be totally fine. Plus, he's super mentally strong. So, he's, like... Everybody's talking about Andrew Luck, and they've always compared the two, because they obviously came out in the same draft class, and Andrew Luck got to the postseason his first few years, and everybody's like, Andrew Luck's so much better, so much better, so much better. But, I listened to this other podcast that I really like called Sims and Lefko. It's on Bleacher Report, and they actually made a really good point about Andrew Luck. He was only been throwing a high school football, which is obviously smaller, than an NFL football. And the point that they brought up is that they feel as if he's got some mental reservation with, what he's doing out there because, of his shoulder, and he's not feeling confident, especially with the way that, the organization is hyping him all up, saying he's going to be ready, this, that, and the other, and he's going to it's crazy, and they're putting so much pressure on him, and he's I don't know, this is just what they speculated, is that, he's having some mental reservations, but Tannehill's not like that. He's strong, he's tough, and he's just going to get out there, and he's just going to work his ass off. He doesn't even think about it, and his athleticism hasn't been affected, his mobility hasn't been affected, and he's going to be elite this year. I don't care what nobody says. Moving on. Next one. Kenyon Drake, running back. He started the final 6 games of last season and ran for 464 yards over that span, 5th most in the NFL. Drake's production justified the Dolphins' decision to trade Jay Ajayi mid-season, but he must carry that momentum into 18. Drake should be the player carrying the load in the backfield, not 35-year-old Frank Gore or rookie Kalen Ballage. Drake bulked up this offseason to prepare for the added wear and tear he will face this season, according to the Palm Beach Post. Real quick, I just do agree. I think he is going to be the primary, workhorse running back. He's going to be in there most of the time. But, Gase does want to mix it up, with the running backs too. He's not really a big, number one receiver, workhorse running back kind of guy. And Frank Gore is definitely going to get in there. He's going to do some stuff. And Ballage is going to get in there probably, light in the early parts of the year, more so as it goes on. But I think they're all going to be productive. But I would like to see Drake hit 1,000 yards. I'd like to see Drake hit 1,000 yards, maybe Gore get like 600 or 700, and then, Ballage can get a couple hundred in there too towards the end of the season. We'll see what happens. Next, Robert Quinn. The Dolphins know what they have in top pass rusher Cameron Wake. So from the standpoint of adding to their roster and bolstering their chances for the playoffs, Quinn is important. The Dolphins acquired Quinn from the Rams for the relatively affordable price of a 4th-round pick and a swap of 6th-round picks. But his $11.4 million cap hit will be Miami's highest this season. Their hope is Quinn can get back to being one of the league's most productive pass rushers after being somewhat miscast as a 3-4 outside linebacker in LA. With Wake having turned 36 this offseason and 2017 first-round pick Charles Harris yet to emerge, Quinn could anchor the defensive line for the foreseeable future. I think we'll probably keep Quinn around. I think he's going to be productive this year. I think he's going to be certainly better, as a DE than a pass rushing linebacker. But he is a bit expensive, but it is what it is. I think Harris is going to emerge this year. I think Wake is still going to be a beast, but D-line's going to be a rotation just the same. Some of them other positions. I mean, a lot of positions, and I think it's gonna be good. It's funny, man. Like, cause if you really look at all, the entire team. I mean, damn near the entire team is gonna do a lot of rotating. I mean, defensive line for sure. You know, running back, wide receivers. There's gonna be a lot of people in there, and there's gonna be a lot to go around. Anyway, next, Laramie Tunsil. If left tackle is a premium position in the NFL, the Dolphins could use a step forward this season from the number 13 overall pick in 2016. After moving from left guard after his rookie season, Tunsil finished 47th in the 2017 season among NFL offensive tackles and Pro Football Focus's grading. It's like middle of the pack, I think. No, maybe not. That's actually probably not that good. Anyway, he needs to be better for sure. Cut down for sure on the penalties. Let's see, where was I? Overall, the Dolphins' offensive line ranked 26th in ESPN Stats and Information's pass protection rate, a measure of the percentage of plays the offensive line controls the line of scrimmage on dropbacks. The Dolphins signed guard Josh Sitton and traded for center Daniel Kilgore this offseason to fix their issues up front. But more will be needed from Tunsil. Absolutely. I think he's going to have it better this year, though. He's got experience at guard. He's got an experienced guard next to him this year, which he didn't have last year. And I think he's going to take a step forward. He's going to get more comfortable. Last year was his rookie year at left tackle, which is one of the hardest positions on the offensive line, because you got to protect the quarterback's blind side. And like I said, Josh Sitton's going to be much improved from, the dumpster fire of a left guard situation we've had for the past few years. So I think he's going to definitely have a big uptick in his production and cut down on the penalties. Last one is Raekwon McMillan, linebacker. Sticking with the theme of players who could add something where the Dolphins lacked last season, McMillan figures to play an important role after missing his entire rookie season with a knee injury. The 2017 second-round pick will be tasked with starting at middle linebacker for a defense that was deficient at the position last season. I'm the Mike. I'm the middle linebacker, the guy in the middle, the quarterback of the defense, he told the Dolphins official website. I'm trying to become a leader out there. I think McMillan has everything he needs to step into that role and be successful. And I have high hopes for the, second-year linebacker, even though he, lost his entire rookie season. But I have high hopes for him, and I think he's going to do really well. The last thing I want to talk about real quick before I get out of here is there was a report by Bleacher Report that, they basically evaluated all the teams and, figured out, in their opinion, what the riskiest move for each team was. For the Dolphins, they said the riskiest offseason move was, releasing Ndamukong Suh. And I'd say that's probably true. I'd say, we got rid of Landry. I feel really confident with the people replacing him. I'm not concerned with that. We got rid of Pouncey. I'm confident with Gore and the rest of the offensive line. I'd say I'm a little less confident as far as that interior D-line goes out of all those positions. But I'm still pretty confident about it. I think Phillips is going to step it up. Godshaw's going to step it up. Taylor's going to step it up. We got Akeem Spence. I think it's going to be a solid rotation there on the inside, so I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, so that's about it for this one. If you like it, make sure you share, comment, hit the subscribe button. Please do. I'm just starting this out, but I'm growing it. And I'm hoping to eventually, get up to 1,000 subscribers. One step at a time, one heart, one mind at a time. You know, I'm reaching out to everybody, all my Fins fans around the country, around the world. You know, it's a time to come together, you know, and support our team, man. You know, we got to do it. We got to hold true, and I think this is our year. So, Fins up. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time.